Where's that?
Well, I
You brought a big plate. You want peanut butter?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab some
You want to
Testing 1, 2.
Ooh, I'm right near the mic. Well, I don't have a mask on. We had company for lunch yesterday. This one young man who went in Afghanistan with Dorn. What are you doing? Oh, address books. Did you know I've been wanting one? Then what's it? Oh, great. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. No, I was because he does have you on my radar, or me on your radar. Oh, I felt so. They weren't seeing me on the road there. Oh, I am so, and there's nothing wrong with doing puzzles. And there's nothing wrong with me listening to podcasts and doing puzzles. But when I don't do what I need to do, then that's a sin. When I miss the mark.
1, 2, check.
That's the old one. The other battery has to charge. Thanks, dude. So you blow your eardrum.
And I didn't read my Bible. This Bible. More than one time this morning I read it.
Okay, we're gonna get
This
started.
morning I felt convicted, so I said,
We got a few people here that want to talk about the Bible. Or they're waiting for a latte. One of those things, but feel free to close your door. You don't have to be that close to hear.
go with your.
All right, this is our last connections group that's gonna be focused on the 1 Year Bible. Next week, we start our Revelation study, because that's what some kind of consensus we formed. Was that last week? Really?
Last week.
So, but read through your 1 Year Bible again, and if you're interested in hosting a 1 Year Bible discussion group at your house on an evening, let me know, because I'll start. We'll hopefully have 1 or 2 of those going throughout the year. So it'll be kind of developing some small groups based on kind of what we did here, except maybe without me talking the whole time. It would be more God-citing type things, things that jumped out at you as applications in your life. In the format that we had here, that's kind of how I saw this, and then it was just big enough that you couldn't really do that. with this group. And so I ended up just trying to answer questions. But I would like the groups to kind of form just around your interaction with the Word and listening to God and inviting more people to read with you. So, if you give a one-year Bible away, which I was going to encourage you guys all to do sometime today, but didn't, try to invite someone to read with you, and if they're willing to talk about what they're reading, wasn't it kind of good accountability to be like, on Sunday, I better have something thought of to maybe ask or to say. It gives you a little bit of accountability, just to have a weekly rhythm with a group. And so, if maybe we'll have something at our house if nobody else does it, at least give people an opportunity to talk about the one-year Bible. Next week, we'll start on Revelation, and I'll just kind of give you an overview of methods and maybe themes that are in the book of Revelation and assign some homework. So, as you read Genesis in January, you'll also study Revelation. When you get into probably Exodus, still be in Revelation in here, but we'll give enough time to go into some depths. Try to make the book not as mysterious and incomprehensible as maybe as you're reading through it now, it feels. But, maybe it's not that big of a puzzle. There's a lot of things in there, like, what exactly does that mean? And hopefully we'll address those. All right, did you guys have any God sightings in the last couple of weeks? Any special Christmas God sightings that were conversations maybe with friends, by family? The distractions have just left the building. Yeah, and I don't have a mic for you yet. You just have to yell.
A friend of mine came in the other night for the candlelight service and cheered up the Holy God when we were singing. And for me, the first big spiritual moment for me where I felt the Spirit was a couple years ago during a song here in the church, during the music. And I didn't even realize that was part of the worship at the time. It got me. I thought that was pretty awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
Good job, Aaron.
You the man. A friend of mine, I've been bugging to come in for a while. I think he just heard that this is the church to come to. And the fact that he felt that spirituality while your mom was up there singing. We were all singing. I thought that was God, the Spirit of God coming into that guy.
Yeah.
Hopefully bring him back. Maybe he picked up a one-year Bible.
Good.
So I'm going to rag on him.
So how's it going?
Hey, we're going to read. We're going to talk about it. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But out of all the people that I know, I did not expect him to show up that night and certainly have a spiritual moment. I thought that was really awesome.
Good.
His name is Dave. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, anything else? Anybody else cheer up at Silent Night? With the candles burning, like, hey, there's a lot of people in here. When you're up front and there's a spotlight in your eyes, you're kind of like, I can't tell if there's people out there or not.
A funny thing, earlier Bernie and I were talking about how you couldn't sleep in the front row.
I wasn't asleep. I was freezing. I wasn't asleep.
It's like the day after Christmas is a rough Sunday morning.
I was there putting his hands on me.
Well, he was talking. You weren't responding.
They put a mirror under your nose to make sure you're still fogging it up.
I'm wearing it at night.
We love you, Bernie.
See, the people that can dish it out can also take it, which is good. All right. So, who was able to read through their Bible this year? I mean, I know we're a week less than a week ahead, but did you make it?
Yeah.
We missed a couple days, boy, that got rough, a couple days behind.
Yeah, and that's really, you know, you kind of want to say, I read through the whole Bible and have that like badge, but it's not about that. And really, you wonder if you read 2 days worth, if you actually get less out of it.
Right.
You know, because there's days like Wednesday for me is sometimes hard because I like to do it first thing in the morning, but we have prayer meeting on Wednesday, so sometimes I don't do it till Wednesday night. And then on Sundays, because I'm here early enough, Sundays are kind of the hard days. But it's kind of like, I felt like I had to read it because, I might be preaching on that, I better not skip it. But as far as you guys, I think if you miss a day, you know, maybe mark it, but, you know, make sure you get it next year or something. Or, you know, if you have like a leap year day, you're like, well, I don't think next year's a leap year. But, you know, you don't have that, you have an extra day. But, you know, each day is pretty strong, standalone, you know, and almost reading less, you get more out of it. So, you know, I would almost encourage you, if you miss a day, you know, just don't worry about it and just, you know, start off, especially if you miss a week. Because I know some people have missed a week and they caught up and they're like, that was brutal.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of like, no, yeah, but there's a lot still there. Listen.
Yeah, the Bible app, just on your phone, we very rarely read the Old Testament ourselves, we listen to it and read
Well, there's all those names.
Yeah, Deuteronomy.
I think my parents listen to it. You guys don't read either, you just listen to the day. Maybe follow along.
I like to read my book. When we drove almost 3 days back from Tennessee, we just listened because we didn't.
They were a week behind, so they listened.
Like 2 weeks.
They crammed. Did it feel like you were cramming for a test?
Yeah, but you're right. I didn't remember a lot, cramming that many days into riding in a car was really hard.
I mean, it's drinking from a fire hose, which most of it shoots out your mouth instead of, you know. So, you know, just as we think about next year, one tip would be like, if you miss a day or two, you know, don't worry about it, but just start again. And there'll be enough there, and just try not to break the streak. You know, maybe if you have a calendar, check, I did it. And, you know, try to make that last as long as possible. You know, I mean, you might miss, you know, several days through the year, but, you know, if you're just like, I just want to break the chain, you know, and you get, it just becomes natural. But for, you know, for those that did, what were some of the helpful routines that helped you do it? Chrissy's saying, it's time to read. Did you guys always do it together?
Yeah,
So early in the morning?
we did half and half, we do the Old Testament in the morning.
Old in the morning?
Rest of it.
Okay. So begin the day and end the day?
If it wasn't for her, I would have done.
So that, I mean, that's a, do it with somebody, maybe split it up so it's faster. You know, do it normal routines, like you brush your teeth, we read a Bible. You know, connect it to something that you already have a habit of doing. Like, I like to eat breakfast, so I would eat breakfast and then read.
When I was in Bible school, studying, okay? So one day, it's night evening was, and decided, well, you know, it takes a lot of space to come up with this idea, well, maybe we just turn the tapes on, and psychologically it'll go in, and the next day, you can get the cancer to make a test.
Yeah.
So I agree with it, meaning me.
Subconsciously, we will learn.
Yes, because it's like, it don't work. And I look there and says, this does not work. We have to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, some things you can maybe pick up subconsciously, but, you know, really, it seems like listening or reading, you have to have an awareness, a grasp what they're saying in your mind, and then it kind of sticks.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think,
Turn the sound on and just go to sleep. they can all night long.
That's been around a long time though. 'Cause they said Alexander the Great slept with a copy of the Iliad under his pillow. Because he's like, the heroism of this epic tale will come into my life by sleeping on it. You know, and that's kind of the same thing with like, we're gonna play positive thoughts while we sleep. Tomorrow we'll wake up on the right side of the bed. And, yeah, scripture, I think, takes some intentional.
Yeah, you gotta focus on it. That's why your wife just asked you, we listened to it on the way to town. No, the river road's way too distracting. We see otters, bighorn sheep, and bald eagles.
And kids are set talking all over.
Brats and that.
Yeah.
Too many distractions. You get Bible study on the river road. Drops and tours.
And if it's too much, you just say, I'm just gonna read the New Testament. I mean, Mandy's raising 5 kids at home. She's like, was it this year or last year that you just read the New
That
Testament?
was the year cycling school, so 2 years ago I used to.
He's like, I have 5 minutes. And really, the New Testament, you can get done in less than 5 minutes. And then eventually you'll be like, man, I want to add a song, maybe to the routine. Because when I was really out of shape, which I probably am now, but, 5 minutes of exercise was enough. And I was like, I think I got one of those apps that was like a 6-minute workout. I don't know if you've seen those, but, it was just and it was enough. Like I was getting the stimulus to start feeling better already. But after you do that for about a month, you're like, I think I need more. And so you add a piece and you add a piece and you add a piece. And, by 5 years later, I was working out for 2 hours a day. And I didn't know how I went from 5 minutes to 2 hours, but over a period of time, I was like, I'm going to add some sit-ups, and then I'm going to add some pull-ups. And then, you might be in a stage where you're like, 5 minutes is more scripture than I've ever consistently had. And maybe that's a good spiritual stimulus to get you thinking and change your life. But probably about 6 months into it, maybe 9 months, maybe a year, you're like, I need to read for an hour. I need to pray and read for an hour. It easily can become more. And so, don't despise the small beginnings of, Zechariah 4:10 in your disciplines as well. And maybe your prayer life is like, man, it's so inconsistent. Just interacting with God for 30 seconds. And pretty soon your heart's like, 30 seconds is not enough. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm going to carve out some time. But it kind of goes with the sermon of the day. You have to prioritize what's important. You got to schedule the most important stuff in there, or it's just going to be busyness all the time. And I think that's probably what happened to people in Jerusalem. When you look at this, they're like, well, we have to have a house in order to build. And then they just kind of get focused on their house instead of the temple. And then they're not receiving all the blessings that they wanted. So you can easily get sidetracked and just say, I'm gonna make God a priority. And maybe what that looks like at the beginning is, a few minutes of prayer and reading a psalm or reading it. Just start small. Small beginnings are good, especially if they're doing something spiritually beneficial that you haven't been doing. So, just think about it. Some of you guys have no problem reading, does it average about 30 minutes if you did it all together? Because I tell people 20 and I was like, time I pray and like journal a little bit, it's like 30, 35. But, that's several years of doing it, just being like, man, I just want to, because now this week I want to read through my journals that I kept and really think big picture. If I could read through my journals in an hour or two and see the whole of Scripture and kind of everything that, God was kind of saying, maybe I'll have it all in my mind to start over again. But, you can add different things to it, depending on where you're at.
We like to do like the Old Testament in the morning.
You're waking up for the Old Testament?
Yeah.
After your shower and your coffee, you get into the Old Testament.
Get that over with. And then at
Very
night, we the other stuff, and that seems to work really well with us, because then, for one, you bring it up, but two, you get a little bit of God in the morning, that'll get you through the, I'm not saying that we ignore, I'm saying like, it helps us
Get
start our
your
day.
thinking about God right away.
And then at night, it's not late, because there's been, like, this last month has been hard for us, because we've been sick, and so like, we've been doing it all at night, and like, if it wasn't for him, I would probably be waiting night, just because I'm just like, I just want to go to bed. Last thing I need to hear is Old Testament.
See, that sounds like good accounting. He said he was able to read because of you, and then you're saying I was able to read because of him.
But man, it was hard, so I feel like to break it up.
And you gotta do what works for you. Some people might read their one-year Bible and then they'll add a Jesus calling, and they'll add, Bernie always, you read a Max Lucado all the time, so. It's great to read the one-year Bible because we're all doing it together and you'll have something to share and talk about with other people in the church. There's this sense of community, of suffering through Job or whatever it might be together. But also, rejoicing. And it doesn't always match the church year. There wasn't a whole lot of Christmas passages this month, but, it was kind of interesting that there was love. Love was mentioned in the love week, peace in the peace week, I thought I was going to have to reorganize the Advent themes. So I spent the, beginning of December, because Kelly preached the first Advent, which was hope. And so I was like, I'm going to have to find some good peace and hope and love and joy. But they're in there. I mean, it's just amazing, how God was able to bring those Advent themes at just the right times. Maybe we won't always preach an Advent theme, but this year I thought that was important. Every day has some great stuff. How are you gonna vote, Bernie?
I don't know. I do wonder about the accountability. If you don't, one of the things that I was comfortable with was that there was some accountability with another church. Is the other church going to? Which way are they voting?
Is there another church?
I thought you were in cahoots.
We're gonna take a sidetrack. There's a denominational umbrella that we were under.
Yes.
That was the ABC.
Yes.
It's actually an association of churches. The denomination isn't, you think about some denominations, they have like a pope that's over it.
Mhm.
They might have a board of elders that oversees everything. It's a top-down hierarchical decision-making thing. Baptists have always been local, independent congregations, but they've decided to kind of work together for a greater mission. And so we always are autonomous. Really, we could totally ignore any ABC mandates, and that's one of the reasons maybe to leave,
Mhm.
is because there's others in the denomination where they say there's certain sins that are not compatible with the Christian life, but there's local congregations that say we're not going to listen to that, and we're going to do how we want to live. So actually, the ABC is a pretty conservative theological group, but it has no authority to
Demand.
to force its theological views on a local church. And so, because they don't have that church authority, the more conservative groups are disassociating. And that
Okay.
would probably what we would do, would just be like, you don't really represent our values, so we're going to come out. But as far as accountability, you're not losing that much. Most of the accountability for leadership in a church has to do with active membership.
Okay.
So if the leadership, if Bernie or me, or there's the deacon board, there's a general board, there's structures of authority. If they're not being faithful,
Mhm.
the membership needs to remove them.
Mhm.
It's the membership that can dismiss a pastor and call a pastor. The membership determines who's on the committees and boards. And if they're not leading, the membership needs to change it. That's why we need strong membership,
Mhm.
because that is the accountability to the leadership is, because we believe in the priesthood of all believers. There's not necessarily this hierarchical structure. It's members who are gifted in certain places. Some are gifted to lead, some are gifted to teach, and you recognize that and you put them in those positions. And so, the denomination, I don't see, one of the reasons might be local accountability or larger collegiality is kind of what they said.
Mhm.
You can have peers, you can get, you can share ideas of
That
what's
you're
working and
accountable
what's
to,
not.
so to speak.
And it's like, well, I can have that conversation with somebody in Denver, or I can have that conversation with another pastor in Moab.
Okay.
The one in Moab probably, even though they might have a different structure. But then I asked some pastors at coffee, and I looked around and I was like, they're all Baptists. It was First Baptist, it was Moab Baptist, and it was Canyonlands, which was it is a Southern Baptist plant as well. And they're all Baptists. Because, we better get, before Dick passed away, I was like, we better get Dick, because at least he's not a Baptist. And Nathan, maybe having a Seventh-day Adventist would be really good for us. Kind of seeing congeniality, that's to be nice, right? But collegiality is, we're here to witness to Moab together. We're actually on a mission together, and we're part of the Holy Catholic Church, which is a small c of saying it's what Christ is doing in our valley. I think I get a lot more from that in a local than in a, people in Denver don't know what
No.
Moab's like.
No. Okay, I hadn't gotten that perspective.
I mean,
Thank you.
it's great because we haven't really had meetings and just talked about it, but
And they have no say in this.
they have no say. So, the membership might say, our pastor's crazy. And the denomination's like, sorry, he's your pastor.
Yeah.
We could tell them, yeah, you guys have a bad pastor. They could confirm your believing, maybe give you some support to say, yeah, get that person out of here. But Baptist churches historically, and we kind of run with a Baptist polity, even if we don't call ourselves Baptist. It was the membership. That's the priesthood of believers. They all have responsibilities before God to follow Him, and they choose their leaders, and they, it's a very democratic kind of sanctified structure. So, we could stay and we would be pretty much what we've been like, or we could leave and pretty much what we've been like. But it was mostly getting our governing documents in line with how we do things. We say we're a non-denominational church, but we're not.
Mhm.
Maybe
Good, as
we
long
should
as you
be.
have that tie.
Yeah, because we have this loose, whatever Baptist tie, which, was maybe a stumbling block for some people who's like, I was looking for a non-denominational church. You guys kind of bait and switched me. And it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that.
So what would we be like, or would we just be non-denominational Christian?
Yeah, I mean, that might be what we have the discussion with our leaders is say, do we really want to embrace the interdenominational aspect? Or do we want to embrace the non-denominational aspect? Or do we just want to ignore denomination? And just say, do you love Jesus? Then you belong with us because we're in Jesus' family. This is the way we've chosen to do things. This might reflect the Baptist, but this might be open to a Methodist, Presbyterian. Because I think the church a while ago said you don't have to be immersed to be a member. That's a very Baptist thing, to say you have to have a biblical form of baptism. And a while ago they said, it's the common faith. And if they believe their baptism was, we'll leave that to other personal convictions. If they were baptized as a baby and won't be baptized again, we'll say that's their personal convictions. It's kind of this between you and the Lord kind of thing that is healthy for each person.
This organization, they don't own the grounds, do they?
No.
Okay. That's good. You see the AG, that's the way their system is, and if they want to keep one out, they can turn around and sell the building, whatever they want to do.
No.
Yep, there was some kind of clause back in the 80s, they wanted my dad to sign. They said, well, and probably the general board at the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not. Because there's one way the denomination can keep churches from leaving. Like, if you guys want to leave, that's great, but we own everything.
That
So they
happened.
can keep you as a member. 'Cause if that was the case, guess what we would be? American Baptist, probably, until we decided we want to build someplace else, and then we're just gonna walk away from
That's what a lot of the denominations are, so like you said, Catholic, we got hierarchy, and everybody else falls underneath.
So,
Also, explain the fact that about this land, if we left this.
this is a deed restricted property. All these are Catholic, First Baptist, and the Steen family has a revision in our deed that says if we ever quit being a church, it goes back to the family.
So I see donated all the properties.
Yeah. So,
Same with.
yeah, we'll be a church. And that's it.
Cool.
We don't have to be ABC church, but we have to be a church unless we want to just walk away from everything. And then, the Steens will get it and they can build whatever they want
Does it cost us any money
to leave.
to be part of it?
We're gonna have to buy our own family.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. If you think of the money that's
It's
available,
gonna cost you a lot.
the denomination is flush with cash. It has tons of money. They sold a bunch of property in Colorado Springs and got millions and millions just for the local denomination. So, they don't ask for money from any church. I mean, you can give to missions and they give it all to missions, but the executive leaders and everything just live off this endowment fund, and they have grants. I mean, you could probably make $10,000-15,000 in grants for continued education, for new programming, for research. I mean, you could stay with the denomination if you just wanted to use them. I mean, and we really haven't, because I think there was that. We kind of portray ourselves as non-denomination. We kind of feel bad maybe taking money from them. And so, but you're giving up probably tens of thousands of dollars of potential partnership money, but it was nothing that our leaders have ever been interested in applying for. Because usually they just tell the church, hey, we'd like to work on this project, and the money comes in for it. And that's a healthy way maybe than to rely on money from almost, when you think of Denver, it's out of state, I guess, but it's really so much different than what ministry is like here.
I like the idea of you saying how that we focus more on what our community needs are, as opposed to just.
Yeah, and they would try to help with that. I mean, they would be specific. What do you need the money for?
Yeah,
But
but I mean, but more personal. I don't know, we don't family.
I mean, just as far as giving up, we just give up that kind of money, but we haven't been using it anymore.
So is this anything to do with like the whole church family in the world? Satan's trying to divide it, and has been from the beginning. Is this a good bond to keep? Do you have an opinion on it? Are you sharing it with the congregation, or are you keeping that a secret so it's not to sway?
Oh, yeah, I haven't kept it a secret to the general board, but to the congregation, I haven't really talked about which way I would go. I tried to write it in the summaries in your letter. But, I can't talk about what the general board came to. We were kind of ascribing values to the different parts in the summary letter. Like, what's it worth that we can get some money out of them? Well, it's like, if you went from 1 to 10, what would we say? If we get 5,000, if we get money from it, that's like a 1 or a 2. It's like not a very big deal.
It's not a good reason to stay.
Yeah, but if we're kind of inconsistent with how we portray ourselves, or if we're associated with very liberal theology and progressive forms of Christianity. What's that worth? And they said, well, that's like a 10 all by itself. I mean, that's a big deal. And so we kind of just added it up, and it was like, you know, I don't know if it was 20 to like 4 as far as the things for leaving outweigh the things for staying, as far as matching our core values in the way that we do ministry. And so that's when we kind of said, let's take it to the congregation to vote. I think leadership has kind of determined what's the best for us, or have thought about it and prayed about it. It's time to maybe talk to the congregation. We might not get the 2/3 we need. We might get every vote we collect might be leave, but if enough votes don't come in, we're staying, because it's 2/3 majority. It's 2/3 of active membership. So, you know, we might all vote, and if enough people don't, then we'll be ABC for another year until we vote.
I guess the disadvantage of living this long is that you get to see a lot of different things. And my grandfather was a trustee of a Baptist church. And the last time I was home was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I wanted to attend just to, because my dad was baptized there and everything. And so I looked online, and it was just a touchy-feely good things, nothing mentioned about any biblical principles or anything like that. I don't know where they stood in other things, but it was nothing but a community gathering place for friends.
It's a social club.
It was a social club, and not even a really good quality social club. So, and then in the Presbyterian church, it is more of a Baptist church than Presbyterian, but when we moved to South Carolina, I saw the split between when the PCUSA wanted to join with the PCUS. The neighbor on our street was an elder and one of the founding members, and he took his Bible to Dallas to the meeting, and he was laughed off.
What do you do with that old archaic book?
Yes, and he came back, and he was the one that hadn't wanted to leave the denomination, and he was just ashen. He came that night to our Bible study, and he was sick. He could not believe what had happened. It split the church. One elder on one side of our backyard, and the elder over here. This elder sued, just a couple of elders sued the rest of the presbytery, not the presbytery, but and we did. We lost everything. We lost the building. We lost the hymnals. We lost the vans. We lost, So, and I know that we've had pastors that were good that have fallen away. So I don't think that's much of a problem with you and your brother and your dad being here. But if anything should happen, it does, down the road, what is good for the church. And I don't know that staying with them, I'm not saying that we, that should be the vote.
Right.
But I do see the caution in it.
Yep. You could just maybe look at the passing of Dick,
Yes.
because they have bylaws and stuff, but they didn't follow them. And so when he passed, it was kind of like, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've kind of just pushed those aside and said, we have our leadership. And then that would be, that's why, you want to kind of have those governing documents to look at and to follow, because, if I got hit by a bus,
Yeah.
we have a search committee that we could put together in a week.
Yeah.
And they could begin to collect applications, and we have a deacon board that can fill things in. I mean,
Yes.
it's working pretty well. But if there was a moral error failure, because
Yeah.
that happens all the time.
It happens a lot.
Hopefully, in your bylaws, constitution, whatever you have, that there's machinery in place, or policies in place that say we're going to give you a 30-day unpaid leave for counseling, or maybe, there's going to be a restoration process. There might be a termination process. All that's kind of in there to protect the mission.
Yeah.
And that's what the membership is really doing, is is they're actively involved in protecting and bringing and accomplishing the ends of the organization,
Mhm.
the goal. And they appoint boards and they appoint, leaders to organize all that stuff. But if we're not accomplishing what God wants us to do, it's the membership who need to make changes.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at leadership.
Yeah.
And so it's really good, if you don't have active members, if they're kind of just like, oh, let's do whatever our leaders say,
Yeah.
that's when you have abuses. I mean, you hear about major churches having terrible spiritual abuse and moral failures, and nobody's keeping the leader accountable. They're like, well, who's supposed to keep the leader accountable? It's the church.
Yeah, an example of that was when we moved to Molina. We had been there several years, and Pat came home from a meeting that the way it's set up and the way it's run is they could never get rid of me.
Mm.
They are so not functioning with their bylaws and the way they're set up. He's like, I could be here and do whatever I wanted, and they could never get rid of me. He's like, that's not healthy for a church.
Or
So he
him.
went, yeah, so he went in and said, you guys need to have the setup that if I do something, that you can remove me, you can put someone else in here that's appropriate. So he went in and changed the whole bylaws, and it took years of work and to get them at a place where your function isn't, I don't know. It was, when he came home and said that, I was like, they need help. Like,
And that was just a
Yeah.
part of it, because, I kind of asked the leaders about the pastor before me. I was like, how long was he here before you realized he wasn't effective?
Mhm.
And they said the first or second year. And he'd been there for like 15, 16
Oh,
years.
yeah.
And it was like, why didn't you do something? I was like, hey, it's our friend. But I was like, your job,
Yeah.
your calling, is to empower leaders to move you to where God is calling you. And it's really the church that together should discern that, not just the leader that says, we're going here. It's the membership who appoints that leader to take them where they feel God is calling us to be. So, I wanted the new board, when we kind of put that together, to be like, if you have to review it every year and say, Pastor, these are our core values. This is our strategic framework. How come we're not hitting these? And to actually, they weren't very good at reviewing that, but it was like kind of a process where like, we have to do this for every position. We have to evaluate everything all the time because we really want excellence in our, and that can get pretty loveless and business-like, but it was like, let's kind of do that with Christian love. If someone's not doing it, we're not going to fire them right away. We're going to train them. We're going to invest in them. We're going to make sure, but
And then allow them to leave if they're not ready to.
yeah, or whatever the best decision is for that point. But I don't think that just wasn't happening because it was a very family feel,
Mhm.
which becomes very touchy-feely. When you guys have a purpose, we better accomplish this purpose. We want to see the needle moving in the right direction, and that's what leadership teams are supposed to do.
One thing, I just want to think.
Is it 8:00?
Yeah, 4 hours.
Can I just
I
say
gotta
one
get
thing
ready
real
for
quick?
church.
Yeah.
So when we started looking for a church, that was the one thing we Googled, non-denominational. We really didn't want to be like a certain thing. And this is what popped up.
Google Live.
Okay.
That's because we lied to Google.
Like that, as a new believer, newcomer, for like, especially in the Moab community, to be able to say, okay, I just want to go somewhere where there's basic love, whatever. And so for us, that was an attraction, just being non-denominational. Of course, now we love it, so yeah, we have to be Baptist, that's fine. But
You're like, yeah.
as a newcomer, new believer, I think that's a good attraction.
Yeah. And I think our leaders have saw that 20, 30 years ago and said, we're going to take Baptist out of the name because it used to be the name.
Mhm.
What I consider was Community Baptist Church. On our bylaws, it was Moab Community. I think it was Moab Baptist Community Church or something like that. It was like is that really what the name used to be? You know, we were actually the first Baptist church. We're the oldest Baptist church in the valley. I mean, we could have been First Baptist, but they said, no, we're a community church. So that DNA is from the very beginning, and we're kind of embraced it. Now we've been so non-denominational in name that now it's kind of like a no-brainer almost. Like, why are we still this? But I mean, this is how Baptist churches are.
We're also very old.
1905.
2005 we were.
You want to see a picture of baby Alexa? It's in the office. It was the centennial celebration, and we dedicated Alexa on that day.
We have a very rich history.
So, you know, just taking that DNA forward.
Sounds like Keeper.
So I didn't mean to, hopefully I didn't, you don't feel like I wasted, we haven't been in the Bible much. We like to talk about the Bible, in the Bible. Anything from this week that you'd like, I've been waiting to say this, you know, I want to address at least one issue. We're past time.
Yeah, we're past time.
But I wanted to kind of give you some tips for next year, maybe thinking about that. You know, it's great to talk about the vote too, because you'll have about 3 weeks to think about that. We can talk about it sometime. All right, well, I guess I'll pray, because I didn't pray to start. Let's pray to close. Lord, as we just review this year in our minds and our hearts, we are so grateful to you for the journey you've taken us on this year. Through your word, there's things we never heard before, things we've maybe read in the past, didn't remember, that you put on our heart and gave us a fuller picture of who you are and what you're doing. We want to thank you for that, but we know there's so much more as well that we can still learn and we can see. Lord, I ask that you would bless us as we finish this year, as we look towards the final eternal estate and see the new heaven and the new earth, where all the tears are wiped away, all the pain is gone. You know, paradise is for real and forever. And then we start over. Lord, help us to see the big picture, but also to get the little details of what you want us to apply into each of our lives. Thank you for a church that loves you, loves your word. Lord, just ask that you would bless us and help us to be about your business this year, whatever that might look like. Help us as we have the night of worship and the annual meeting, that would just be an inspirational night of intimacy with you. Lord, thank you for this time in this group of your children. Ask your blessing on them. Help them to have a great New Year's Eve and New Year's. Lord, just ask that you'd be with us. In Jesus' name.
Amen. I'll get out there and help Andy.
Yeah. Quit neglecting my fatherly job.
Thank you for this. You want to, I would love to take you to Sweet